Loud. Robo, obviously a very strong, a very storied top laner for the Brazilian squad, and if you can give him something he'll carry on, you know that he's going to be able to accomplish great things in the top lane.
Varus being taken off the board alongside Lucian. So right now, the AD carry priorities. We know that Root is a big Aphelios player. We'll see if that's something that they want to try and prioritize in the draft, or if that's something that perhaps DFM want to get rid of. Right now, a lot of the power picks are still up and available. Annie being one of the big ones that you have to think about, especially Arya. Pretty sure he's undefeated on the champion so far this year. A champion very comfortable for him. Olaf, of course, something that is very prevalent in the meta. We saw Broken Blade decimating 80 carries yesterday on the champion. And DFM going to look to remove that one. So now the question is, where will this priority shift? What is still going to be left up open? Wukong, something that we've seen a lot from Steel already here at this MSI, is something that is still up and available. The Rakan, of course, going to be taken off the boards.
And obviously things like Jinx, like Aphelios, still very much at the forefront of our minds when we are looking towards an AD-focused meta. We have seen that the game can be defined by the AD carry role, Nautilus as well getting banned away. I will say, I'm a little sad that there's so much mid-Naut flex, because there's a Naut one-trick in solo queue. I now have my mid laner saying, hey, you know, I could take that mid. It's like, you don't understand how to play this champ. You think the queue is easy to hit? But now Loud going to lock in the Maokai to kick things off. Only Croc's second game on the Maokai this year, Betty.
Okay, well, we are European casters, and throughout our playoffs we saw a lot of Maokai priority, especially when Vi was taken off the board. Here at MSI, it's not really been that same level of priority. The Vi's, the Wukongs, Lee Sins, like basically aggressive, powerful early game junglers are what we've been seeing. But LLL are accepting that there's going to be a lot of fights. They want to have that strong team finding tool, and the Maokai is going to come through for them. Surprised to see DFM prioritize the Ahri so early on. Of course, Arya, we know him as a prevalent Ahri player, but typically you want to pair it up alongside things like the Vi, but the expectations are that Steel will go for his tried and true Wukong.
Yeah, getting the Wukong Ahri is almost as good as getting the Vi Ahri. It does still give you that lockdown potential, and Arya played it 5 times this year, won 4 of them. And in the LJL finals, he had an absolute tear of a performance.
Those
on
fans
the
are
Fox.
excited for an Aphelios.
They really are. It's like, give it to Root. Key carry for Loud, and there is the Aphelios locked in. So Aphelios Jinx going to be our bot lane pairing. We'll see where the supports decide to go after this. I wonder if Loud will decide that mid lane should be their prio here to make sure they get something into that Ahri. Lissandra, obviously, still a possibility.
Very weak mid-jungle duo if they did decide to go for that. Of course, in terms of the matchup, can be very effective. You know, something like a Veigar could be something that they think about if they want to go for something a little bit more scaling. Annie, though, still up and available, often can be used as a very effective tool into Ahri, but they're not going to go for it. Instead, they want to make sure that Robo gets something comfortable for him, and now it kind of forces DFM to answer. Do they want to try and respond by getting a top laner for themselves? Do they perhaps want to get the Thresh for themselves right now to guarantee a strong bot side of the map? Maybe they want to secure the Wukong because they want to make sure that they have that strong mid-jungle. An interesting force here from Loud.
Yeah, you put DFM in a little bit of a bind, right? Because you know that Tol2 has not had the best of performances so far at MSI. It looks like they're going to prioritize getting a strong bot lane. Lulu Jinx, incredibly powerful if you can scale into the game, but now Loud can just look at banning out top laners, get rid of the Gragas that Tol2 has so often relied on, get rid of the Sion, or look towards that Cassante, and you can really pinch the pool for DFM's top side.
Yeah, I do wonder if they'll consider something like the Malphite, the Cassante. A lot of options. Meanwhile, DFM, they can look, but remember that Wukong still, I think, would be a very effective ban right now. Perhaps they're saying to Robo, you know what, you're actually very comfortable on this champion. We think you can play it very safe into a number of matchups. Let's not bother risking it. Instead, let's prioritize limiting that jungle pool and kind of force steal. No, instead they'll ban them out. Okay, that also makes sense. It does make a lot of sense. Even though Tol2 didn't have the strongest performance on it earlier in the competition, I think that it does make sense to just remove that. I still remember Bwippo when he brought that out as an answer into the Aphelios, and he was just running around solo killing the champion.
Spamming emotes the entire time.
It's been seen throughout this year how effective this champion can be into low mobility AD carries. And obviously they want to get that off the board. Of course, Tahm Kench is very much directed towards Seos, something that he is often gone for when we do see Root on his Aphelios, and the Thresh obviously makes a lot of sense. No peel for Root today.
It just means that Aphelios is so much more vulnerable to attacks, especially since you have Arya on the Ahri already. He can just get towards that backline really quickly with the Spirit Rush. There is, of course, the Twisted Advance from the Maokai to try and stop him in his tracks, but can be difficult to keep a handle on the Fox. Wukong, the next ban, Loud agreeing with you that they don't want Steel getting his hands on the Monkey King. And now DFM looking towards a tank in the top lane. Kel Surprise. Sion, the likely option here for them. Toltu can just try to survive the lane, scale up, and then be a meat shield for his backline later on.
Okay, we saw how effective Bin could be on the Sion yesterday. Just such an effective wall for the Jinx to play around, and already you can see that with DFM's composition, a very traditional front to back. It feels like that both teams are going for more of this team fight style. Depending on how they round out with their mid laner will determine a lot in terms of what Loud can do in the early game. But when you have an Ahri, I wouldn't be surprised to see DFM going something like a Xin, a Lee Sin, something that gives them a little bit of agency in the mid jungle. That will be the Swain. Of course, Swain can be flexed into support as well, so I'll hold my breath for the time being to see what direction it goes. But Tino's known for playing that Swain in the mid, so wouldn't be surprised to see it into Ahri. A very old school counter. If you want to go back into league history, Season 3 World Championship, it was Nuke Duck that brought the Swain out into Faker's Ahri. Idea, good. Back then, didn't really work out for Nuke Duck, though.
Execution wasn't the best.
Yeah. But Swain is a very tanky, he's a drain tank effectively. Makes it harder for Ahri in these sustained fights to be able to really do much against him. Charm can always be a very effective tool, but still, it's a very safe pick that can mitigate that pick potential that Ahri is often looking for.
And it gives Loud a lot of impetus in terms of going forward.
Wow.
You just run at the enemy team. Rounded out here for DFM is the Nidalee for Steel. Be piloting that in the jungle, and both teams do want to look towards that team fighting. You have a meatball for DFM in the Sion, a bit of poke, and then catch potential from the Ahri. On the side of Loud, though, 3 meatballs just walking at you, 4 if you add the Leona in there, and a Aphelios standing at the back and hoping that no one can get on top of him.
Yeah, so it's basically just a lot of front to back. I think that you have to give Loud the advantage when you talk about straight up team fights. They have so much durability, and as long as Root is left untouched, he's just going to be free to dish out an unbelievable amount of damage. Just because you've chosen to draft the Nidalee does mean that you can leverage some of the priority that you should be able to get in lanes like mid, to be able to set up invades, try and punish the Maokai early on, who's going to struggle to mitigate the pressure that can come out from this Nidalee. But in terms of the team fights, Nidalee just doesn't offer the same level of utility that a Maokai does. So around these neutral objectives, it's going to be really important that DFM try and get on those objectives first so they can leverage their poke rather than being forced to have to face check into the Maokai.
The Nidalee also, of course, gives you a little bit more early game pressure. You can do a little bit more around the map, you can look for those dives, and if you can put tanks behind in the early game, it takes them a lot longer to get back into the game, to actually become tanks, because you still have a Jinx. You still have that consistent DPS in a fight for DFM. If they can win out this early game, this composition is looking very well-rounded for them. The question is, can Loud keep them on the ropes? Loud, of course, no slouches in the early game as well. We saw them take G2 to task before losing out on a couple of mid-game fights. It's do or die for Loud and DFM as we get onto the Rift. And across the board, no real surprises. I'm just looking to see, Fleet en route. It's okay. It does give you a bit of sustain. You have the lethal tempo for Udapon. Arya running the unsealed spellbook as well. And another first spear lands, Vedi. Croc eats it. Steel gives him a little bit of a sad beat.
Yeah, it's calibrating, as you often have to do on the Nidalee, Spear miss here, spear miss there, but it's all about downloading your opponent, right, Are they the type of player that will continue to run forward, or are they a juker, As a support main yourself, you're very familiar with that. Let's crank Norless, you've always got to know which direction your opponent is going in.
Well, Robo there didn't run.
He didn't.
And that can be the biggest mind game of all, just press S.
Press S, yeah.
Is Aftershock Maokai here, not really looking for that AP. We have seen some first strike demonic builds, but expectations are that Croc will just be trying to be as tanky as possible, as strong a front line as available for his team.
Nice as well. Not any early vision being invested. You can see a little bit of protection being offered in terms of early wards in the river from Loud towards the bot side of the map and the entrances to the jungle. We'll see if any early invades come out from DFM. My expectations are that they will look for something with this Nidalee pick. The question is what? Right now, Nidalee doing a full clear on the top side of the map. But overall, nothing too dramatic. As a reminder, DFM and Loud yet to win a game so far here at MSI. Very good trade for Tino into the mid lane. Against Arya, getting that level 2 advantage, able to land the binding with the E. getting a favorable trade-off. But you can see priority in the bot lane. I was actually expecting Arya on the Ahri to be able to get pressure early on in this lane, but Tinone's being able to get that good trade means that he will have the push, moves into the bot side river, will drop a ward immediately. And again, a lot of this is to give information to Croc, as he might be looking for a bot lane gank already.
I mean, Hart and Udapon are quite far pushed up here. Steel is around the mid lane as well as Tinone's has that wave trying to crash. Tinone's still on level 2 as Arya gets the charm, but the flash away from Tinone's means that he will survive. Steel diving in, though the never move won't land, and Steel gets first blood. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, all ado about nothing as the gank doesn't materialize from Croc.
Wow, but Croc is looking for it now, has the level 3.
They are stepping forwards, and it's played flashed by Harp. Good preemptive there. Steel can look to try and catch out this tree. The sapling's going to do a little bit of work. The knockback with Rambo Smash as Croc now isolated. Another spear blocked by Seos. That shield working well for the Leona.
Very good block there by Seos. A much needed one as well. Steel was definitely looking for it, but already DFM off to a great start. A 900 gold lead as they find a big kill on the mid lane. Arya going with the charm level 2. Not what I was expecting. I thought he was going to tick over to level 3 and then take the charm, and then that was what they were looking for, but I think it caught Tinone's off guard as well, as he was forced to flash early, and then Steel was able to land a great spear. So first blood drawn for the LJL squad.
And it's also part of that proactive communication, right? Because Arya could have had the push here. Maybe he seeded it to allow Tinone's to push a little bit too far forward and then called Steel in for the gank.
So the charm comes out, force the flash, and this makes it so much easier for Steel.
Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Harp, no flash on him. He'll go down. Root's going to take the kill. Steel trying to come in from the side as well as Udapon. There's a little bit of damage, but Root and Seos able to escape. You burn the flash and the ghost to do so.
So a nice advantage gained back for Loud as they're able to find a 2v2 kill. Steel is hovering though. Keeping my eyes on the mid lane. Perhaps Arya could be looking for a roam, but for the time being, he's going to stay in mid lane as we see Croc make his way up towards the top side of the map. Good awareness from Croc, noting that he can get the cross map here. He's going to have to concede his jungle. And again, great vision from Loud overall. They're doing a really good job of doing their best to keep track of where Steel is and what he's up to on the map. Fortunately for Loud, Steel was able to navigate through some of this early vision, find some good ganks, but Croc now setting up. I don't think they're going to dive Toltu in the top lane. Sion, a notoriously difficult champion to dive with only 2 members, but Steel continues to hover around bot.
You know, if you put Root behind, if you get Udapon ahead, that is DFM's win condition. Udapon has been with this team for so long. They have so much trust in him that allowing him an early lead can reap dividends for the Japanese lineup.
I'm surprised if we don't see Udapon just shoving that wave in. I imagine that they'll look to shove the next wave in as quickly as possible, force Cloud's bot lane to lose as much farm as they can, as they need to get a reset of their own.
But if we evaluate this early game, Betty, overall, DFM very much in the ascendancy, about 700 gold ahead. Yes, Root was able to pick up a kill, but they're losing minions down here as well. 100 gold the difference between the 80 carries. In the mid lane, a 300 gold lead for Arya, and just look at that jungle. 500 gold advantage for Steel right now, Betty.
Yeah, a lot of the advantage is just sitting on the Nidalee right now. And again, huge props to Steel. It's what you need to do on this Nidalee, and we need to see Steel continue that level of aggression. If he's not able to find more in this early game, I feel like that when we get to those later game team fights, we talked about how Loud do have a big advantage just with the sheer amount of crowd control that they have with their composition. Maokai, Leona, Gnar, even Swain is just going to be a giant beef ball that you're going to struggle to get through.
Have to remember Swain's passive. When enemy champions die, or when he hits people with his W or his E, he gets stacks, and that gives him bonus health. He also heals when he collects those stacks. You can become very tanky on this champ just through that passive health. The same, of course, with Sion. Or Toltu up towards that top lane. And I think this Sion pick actually very smart from DFM, because it's very difficult to shut down a Sion. It's very difficult to stop Sion from doing what he wants to do. Loud have realized that. They're basing most of their attention down towards this bottom side, and DFM perhaps looking for a fight as the Zenith Blade lands up towards the top side. Arya already caught. He's going to Spirit Rush away. The Ignite is ticking, and Root will take him. The charge coming in from Toltu, but he's a little bit late to the party. That train not on time. We are in England after all.
A good pick from Loud as they're able to catch Arya completely out of position. He tried to move his way into the river, but there was no support from the bot lane. Seos with a great pick means that Loud have claimed the gold lead for themselves. This early game going back and forth, but Loud in a much more comfortable position. And the fact that Root is the one with 2 kills in his back pocket is definitely a great position for Loud to be in. Will Steel now look for something top lane? Good CC coming out from Toll 2.
Yeah, Robo's just gone Mega, so that's going to start timing out now, and Steel knows that's his opportunity to look for something here. Robo does still have the Gnar. Looks for the house against Toll 2, gets the stun with the wallop, but here goes Robo down into that mini Gnar. Good Gnar across the wall before he expires. Steel dashing forward. Robo still has the flash and will escape the game.
Well played there by Robo. Information now gained.
Oh, Steel!
Ooh, flashed!
Flash spear! Oh!
Good reactions there from Robo. He will be able to sidestep that, and that is a big commitment. Croc should be able to get the blue. Oh, the smite comes out from Steel.
Croc didn't have a smite, so in the end, Steel was always going to be living up to his namesake on that blue buff.
And he was. Walks away with a small advantage. But great navigation from Robo. He's able to circumvent that gank. Arya has Arya playing Ari. Not going to be confusing at all during this cast. Moving into Fog of War. I was going to say he can threaten something bot side, but obviously there's no bot lane to threaten right now. Seos getting out onto the map as we have the Rift Herald alive, means that Loud could look for something. Right now it's just both supports hovering mid. Heart mainly to provide cover, while Seos looking for an opportunity.
About half a level away from 6-4, both of them. Steel is coming in from the side here as well, but Seos can tank those spears. The Eclipse, of course, giving you extra armor and magic resist. That W means that he's willing enough to take a spear to the back as Croc starts up the Rift Herald. Now he is on this Scuttle Crab, the vision of away to DFM. They might play bot side here as they know that Root is a little bit pushed up and none of his team is on that side of the battlefield. Harp and Steel on their way. Root has red, white, and those are the guns that you don't really want to fight into, but in a 3v1, I think they would have been able to win it out. Instead, they just force Root away from the tower, away from the wave, and the Rift Herald will go over to Loud. Good patience as well from Root not to step up. Knows that he is playing weak side right now, so backs away and allows DFM control of the lane.
It's really important that DFM are able to get some plates off the back of this, because by committing this many members and just conceding over the Herald, they need to be able to get some advantage back. But Root did a really smart thing, pushing in that bot wave as quickly as possible. Yes, it did cost him a bit of farm, but look at that, only a single plate secured, and now who's back out on the map? Croc. Level 6 secured for Seos, and he's making his way bot lane immediately. Tinone's looking to try and get a push in mid. We can see Robo already moving into Fog of War. The spear doesn't quite connect once again. Root able to sidestep, and DFM doing a good job of clearing this wave out as quickly as possible. You can see the Loud committing to this dragon, and they have their eyes on funneling those plate money rather, into Root.
Give your AD carry as much gold as possible. Everyone else will become tankier as the game goes on. The AD carry is the one you want getting those items. And right now, Root in prime position to carry this game for Loud, to get them one step away from winning their first ever international best of 5. It was DFM that denied, or best of 3, sorry, best of series. It was DFM that denied them in a best of 5 at last Worlds, before losing to RNG later on. That gold lead that we saw from DFM early VOD now disappeared into the ether as Loud have caught up. They still have that Rift Herald on Croc, but it looks like right now the key point of focus, Solar Flare, Spirit Rush away.
He needs to stop entering the river like that, because that's the second time he's been punished for it now.
Look at Tinone's though. He flashes, not knocked up with the Decimating Smash, and in the end, it's a Summoner for an ultimate. Arya no longer has the Spirit Rush, but Tinone's with no flash probably won't want to approach this bot side river. I was wondering if DFM would set up around the dragon, but it continues to just be Steel looking for damage, looking for picks. Seos no Solar Flare, only about a third of the cooldown off of that. Croc coming in from the side as well, Tinone's working his way down. Arya no TP on the spellbook right now, does just pick up the Everfrost, and because of that, DFM will realize perhaps we don't want the fight yet. Let's wait for our mid laners to be back on the map before we really pressure any further. Robo with the TP as well. Well, Toll 2 does not have his.
Fan support continuing to be strong for Loud. The Herald will actually be dropped in mid lane.
We're in Europe. Will we get a cheer for it, Betty? There we go. The Root's going to come out with a never move, though, as Tinone's is ignited. Arya should be able to clean up the Rift Herald. Just 2 plates going down from it. Zap onto Seos. Steel coming in from the side as well, but DFM just looking for poke damage more than anything else right now. Seos misses the Zenith Blade, or it was dodged by Udapon, depending on your point of perspective. And it has been a lot of dancing around this bot side of the map without too much result for DFM.
Root has really been able to mitigate a lot of this. To be fair though, the AD carry is still very similar in gold because Udapon was able to secure those plates, and the Herald has actually dropped in mid to not that much great effect. DFM are first on the objective, but Croc with the ultimate is going to drop it.
Nature's Grasp goes down, Sales has the Solar Flare as well, the Root's going to land onto 2, the Solar Flare as well onto half. You have to watch him, the Wild Goat's still available as the Dragon is stolen away. Steel's going to have to jump out of the back of the pit, but Root is keeping him in place! Root gets the kill, Udapon flashing away, half trying to escape as well. The cleanse, the blast go knocks Udapon into his demise. Sales flashes over the wall to escape Aria, and Loud get the Dragon, get 2 kills, and get the hell out.
Loud walk away victorious as DFM is left scrambling. A very easy executed fight for Loud as they drop the Maokai ultimate. The follow-up is clean, and DFM are left with nothing but a base to go back to. The fans are elated, and as a reminder, this is a best of 3 to determine who moves forward in the play-ins and who will be eliminated. A lot on the line. Game 1 so far going in favor of Loud.
We'll have another look at this fight because it's about the crowd control. It's about the ability for Loud to lock up DFM.
So the focus initially becomes the support, the Lulu. The chain CC follow-up after the Maokai ultimate into the Leona ultimate, but Root says, no, I'm good. Focuses Steel, says this is an easy kill, doesn't have the W available until the last second. The Q comes out from Root to help secure that kill, and then they turn their attention to the remaining members. Now, Tino's just proving his durability here. He's holding off 2 members alongside Sales, so 3 members rather, and just soaking up time, buying time for his AD carry to finish the job and move on to the rest of the team. Here you can see the win expectancy presented by AWS, and how it has dramatically shifted in favor of Loud.
Some pretty happy fans in the audience having a look at that. I will say, I think I've seen the win expectancy be wrong a couple of times, so don't take it as gospel.
I mean, my favorite one was when the win expectancy, like Vegeta or something, was 100%.
Yeah, and Steel, looking for Robo, does have that Mega Gnar coming up, and I think this is kind of indicative of how the early game's gone for DFM. Robo just standing in the face of Tol2 and Steel and taking as much damage as they can put out, and still has a third of his HP, can just walk away from this one. It's becoming trickier and trickier for DFM to actually find the damage to kill their opponents. Because yes, you have a Jinx who are hyperscale, but no Kraken Slayer yet on Udapon, no Gale Force on him either. Arya only has an Everfrost. Steel doesn't even have his first item, and your DPS is just lacking when you look at how tanky Loud are.
I mean, they drafted a very difficult to execute composition. The only lane that they could really play through is mid. You look at bot, what setup do you have? Especially into a Leona, a Felios. If your mid could get easier prio and they could set up some 4-man dives bot lane, I think that would have been a better option for them in the early game. But the reality is that DFM haven't been able to snowball this early game lead in their favor. And now we find ourselves in a position where Loud are very comfortable knowing that these fights are only going to get better for them. Robo trading very well.
Good walloping,
I'm very surprised if Tol2, I talked about the bot lane dives, here comes it now.
Yeah, they're looking for him. Polymorph's going to go down onto Root. They get the dive, they get the kill. DFM get 1, Root shut down. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Sales looking for something, but no support to protect Root means that they weren't able to keep him alive. That's the charge straight into the wall, the flash from Tol2. Sometimes you just got to headbutt a wall and flash out, sending a message, I guess.
I think the goal there was just to mitigate the crowd control so that he then had the window to flash out. Of course, doing it at the last second means that he didn't quite get the direction he wanted to go in.
This tower's going to die.
Yeah, and he may very well die immediately afterwards.
Zenith Blade chases him down. There's the stun from the Shield of Daybreak as well. The Ignite is taking a Robo, secures the kill. It's his day so far. And it's definitely Loud's day overall. 1,000 gold lead for them now as they push in this mid lane. Tinones against 3, just controlling the map.
See, now, of course, with Arya roaming bot lane and no plates up anymore, it's very easy for Tinones to do some serious damage onto that mid lane tower. He pushes out the mid wave, starts hitting onto that objective. And you can see that even though they're able to find a kill onto Root, they're finally able to shut him down. It doesn't really convert to much map control, so Loud still very much in control of the game. The Dragon spawning in about a minute's time. I mean, that Loud can easily set up for this, and we can already see them doing that. Root pushing in that bot wave. Gonna shove it underneath the tower. Croc trying to get a little bit more deep vision. They have that mid control. Now, DFM do have some good wards placed behind in the enemy's jungle, but I don't know if Tol2 is going to be able to really leverage that to find a good fight in favor of DFM.
No ultimate yet for that Sion. It would make it a bit tricky to really join the fight. We've seen how good Robo is at cancelling the decimating smashes as well with a wallop of his own. Mid lane cleared out. Loud grouping up around this blue buff. They have the Rift Herald charging in. Shirley will do a little bit of work, but with no minion wave, quickly culled. And Loud will back away. As you say, Veddy, those 7 seconds on the Ocean Drake would be good for Loud to continue this stacking, to continue control, because it's not only about the Dragon itself, it's about forcing DFM into a fight later on. Udapon pulled back with the Gnar, cleansed away, but the Solar Flare finds his mark. Twisted advance forward as well, and Tinon's going to tank up the tower. That mid lane turret still standing, but DFM not doing that at all. Udapon falls, and now Loud pushing in the 4v5. The turret goes down, charge away from Toll 2, but Robo keeps the rest of DFM at bay. Loud in the end get the kill, get out and look for the Dragon.
And Loud just playing this very smart. Group up as a 5-man stack. Don't give DFM the opportunity to find any picks. Don't allow DFM to leverage their mobility to catch you off guard. Just stack up mid, push through bots, and secure those neutrals. Spear will land on the Tinones.
Does still have the flash, and he has Seos as well. Waiting around the corner, another spear dodged by both Seos and Tinones. The re-engage with the Zenith Blade, Root coming in as well. Blue-purple, not the best guns for this position as Ari goes forward. Arya takes one, pops the stopwatch. The Dragon goes down to Crockett as the rest of DFM look for a little bit more, perhaps desperation in this play. The sapling lands and now the TP into the mid lane by Robo. He's built up that Mega Gnar. Half's going to have to flash across the wall, but Croc chases him down with a twisted advance. And now Loud can really open up. Udapon stunned with the wallop. He only just came back to life. But OG, air hop stay as Loud clean up the fights.
A massive fight won once again for Loud as they find themselves 3 kills. DFM are quickly falling apart at the seams as Loud repeatedly punish them for their aggression. And less than 20 minutes in, 2 Dragons to their name, 4,000 the gold lead, and Loud looking to get revenge on DFM after last year's World Championship.
And you just see how difficult it is for DFM to do anything proactive on the map. Harp, so commonly their shot caller, their playmaker. When he is on an engaged support, this team looks drastically different. Here we see, as you say, a difficult to execute comp really biting DFM.
Yeah, I mean, DFM had to do a lot in the early game, and you can see them trying to find those picks that we talked about. They have decent mobility, but it's so hard to play. The second that Loud start to group, the CC is just so prevalent. Of course, those walls aren't really there. We are on the Infernal map. And Root,
it's full Terminator, you just walk through the bars, right?
nothing will stop Root on his quest for vengeance. Didn't secure a kill in that last exchange, but still in a very comfortable position, working towards that Infinity Edge second. The Baron up in, well, 1 second. And I wouldn't be surprised if Loud look to try and force something around it. Again, they're just stacking up. They're leaving Tinones in the side lane. They know that he can't really be stopped. There is no real kill threat onto him unless multiple members are committed. Robo, hovering in the fog of war, will now be spotted out. But just a battle over control of the river for the time being.
And a vision in this red side jungle. Now trying to deny it. Unstoppable onslaught coming out from Toll 2, but Root just dodges behind the wall. Toll 2 now has to flash because Root is there with Seos, the Zenith Blade. Dodged away from, and Loud can step forward once again. Don't have too much deep vision. You can see 1 ward by the Razorbeak camp, 1 ward that just expired, well, it's just replaced by the ward at the red buff, but DFM walking into darkness. They know right now the Dragon hasn't been started, but Root has the perfect guns, the Baron, sorry. Root has the perfect guns to take it down. The Scryer's Bloom spots them as Loud continue to try and open up on it. Robo coming in from the side, the Solar Flare onto Harp. The Zenith Blade's gonna land, but a good decimating smash there from Toll 2. Stops Seos from engaging. Toll 2 will sacrifice himself for his support. Robo rooted and can't quite get in for that Mega Gnar. Toll 2 does go down in the end, a 1-0 in favor of Loud.
I think that control ward stopped Robo from having vision, but if he saw what we saw, he was gonna go for that Mega Gnar plate.
I think there may have been some Flame Chompers or a Charm as well.
Well, either way, right now DFM are a man down. And the Baron has been started. Loud did commit a lot of ultimates. There is a real opportunity for Steel to stay true to his name.
Tinone's going to try and keep him at bay. Robo's going to do the same. Steel has to jump away.
3
The
members.
Zenith Blade. Loud realize the only way they're losing this if his Steel lives up to his name, so they force him away. The Baron secured for Loud. And now, 22 minutes in, they are 6,000 gold ahead.
Beautiful play from Loud, playing true to their win conditions, and very little to criticize overall. They're staying grouped, they're leveraging the power of their composition, and they're walking together as a unit. They're not getting overzealous, massive improvements from Loud, where one, they got that early game lead against G2. It felt like that they got overconfident, they lost control, and the game very quickly fell out of their hands. But this time around, you can see them taking it patiently, taking it calm, taking it one kill at a time. And now I imagine to play this 4-1 split once again. Both solo laners have the TP available, but don't run the risk. You still have that top tower at your disposal. Let the waves crash into it. You don't care about it. Group up as a 4-man stack in mid and allow Robo to start dealing damage on the side lane.
Next Dragon up in 45 seconds as well. An Infernal Soul for Loud would pretty much be the icing on the cake. This would only be Soul Point, but they get the mid tier 2. No defense really from DFM. Half-hearted at best as Udapon and Harp just trying to farm up. Harp still yet to complete an item on this Lulu. He has been so denied. Udapon on 2 though. Kraken Slayer, Phantom Dancer can do work. The issue for DFM is you just don't have a front line. You just don't have anyone that can really step up. Tol2 trying to do so, but the CC, the threat on the backline from Loud is just far too great. Inhibitor tower in the bot lane does fall, so does the mid. And DFM left wondering where it all went wrong. Inhibitors are the focus now. Loud can still push up very short distance for Robo to join his team. Tin owns Root and Seos step up in the mid lane. Croc just waiting across towards the side as Root. Gale forces forward, hits the Moonlight Vigil and assassinates Harp. Takes him out of the equation. And currently, the summation of everything is looking well in favor of Loud. The inhibitor falls, as does Tol2. The Gnar onto the backline is flashed away, dashed away by Arya. But Unipon's locked up, and Unipon is shut out of the fight. Loud wanted vengeance. They lost to DFM last year, and right now they're putting them in their place.
Elation from the crowd as Loud will win their first game at MSI 2023 and in convincing fashion. A dominant performance from start to finish and a controlled, clean play style. Great execution on the fights. I love the way in which they just took their time and they leveraged the fact that they were stronger as a unit.
Yep.
They played well as 5, they played the team fights very patiently, and this was a 24-minute game, Medic. Clean, controlled, calculated, the Baron spawn, they played around it patiently. They allowed both Croc and Root to deal the damage, while 3 members were committed to make sure that no steal was happening today. And just very well played. If Loud can maintain this performance, they're looking like a strong force in this group.
And a really strong force to face up against PSG tomorrow as well. We have to remember, it's non-stop for the rest of planes.
Yep.
For either of these teams, whoever wins PSG tomorrow, winner of Golden Guardians and Gam. Is it Gam that won it? Yeah, it was Gam that won it.
No,
Rainbow 7? Rainbow 7,
yeah.
sorry, yes. Rainbow 7 after that. It is a tough road to walk, but what a first step for Loud. I think we saw signs of this in their series against G2. You said it, the early game was clean in that game 1, and here they just solidified that mid game, play patient League of Legends.
And I think that DFM really need to reevaluate how they approach the draft. Like, I think that the Nidalee pick to round out their composition just made it so much harder to play across the board. You could see the idea of wanting to invade, wanting to really shut down that Maokai, but as you kind of entered the early to mid game, they just didn't have lanes they could play through. Jinx Lulu is very difficult to find advantages with. The Ahri was the only real lane that they could play through, and even then they found one pick, but they never repeatedly ganked that lane, and so DFM had no control in the early game. There was nothing for them to snowball off of, and then Loud just leveraged their scaling to be able to win out on the fights.
And I'll say something I learned from Goldborg when we were talking about these teams behind the stage. Put Harp on a carry. Put him on, at least on someone that can engage.